Muses, and welcome to a new Friday Insight where we are going to get some illumination and clarity and general insight into questions you bring here. And I know I've reiterated this already in my past Friday question readings, but I think this is only the third or fourth week that I've kind of switched up, moving away from my yes, no, maybe toward more open-ended questions. So your question could still have an essence of a yes, no in it, but just phrase it in a way so it's a little bit more open-ended, because we just want to sort of dig into some context, some insight, some illumination around the general vibe of what's going on with your question, rather than getting really concrete with a yes, no, just like really getting insight and context about it. So good ways to start a question that would be open-ended would be using how, what, why. I am also going to add in something to this reading that could give you a hint of that yes, no without actually giving you a yes, no. So if that, if you do have a question you want a yes, no to, I am adding something in at the very end of each reading that will kind of hint toward that, at least, so that doesn't go completely away. I just think we get a lot more interesting, meaty information if we leave things a little more open-ended. Okay, that being said, we've got 4 piles this time. Pile 1 is Flower Agate. Pile 2, we have Snakeskin Agate. Pile 3 is Aragonite. And pile 4 is an orange Chalcedony. So gaze over these 4 piles and simply kind of put the question out there of which one has my aligned message, and then tune into the energy of each rock, each stone, and see which one is sort of has a magnetic quality when you ask that, which one is aligned for my question. And whenever you are ready, you can pause here if you need. Drop down to timestamps in the descriptions and you can jump straight to your piles reading. All right, I will see you in your group. Hello, Pile 1. Welcome to your Friday Insight, where we are going to get some clarity and illumination around a question that you have brought here. So these 3 cards that I've put out are helping me to see, an underlying need around your question, some kind of initial step to be taken, and some sort of message also from your higher self and intuition. So generally, what I want to say here is whatever question you've brought here, maybe something where you feel like you are losing yourself a little bit or going a little bit crazy in some way. And the underlying need here is saying that this is, do whatever you can to ground yourself, to feel a little bit more stable and grounded in life, but to at the same time just allow this, whatever is shifting in you, to happen, whatever is making you feel a little bit fragmented from who you were, or life feeling fragmented in some way. It's a step that is needed because you are going through a process of anchoring in a new quality of light, it's almost like a new base aura color is trying to come into you, and that's like a really major thing. We have a base aura color, and then we have colors that come in and out that are just transitory based on what we're going through. But like that base color, it typically, it doesn't necessarily change throughout our lives, but I think it can shift a little bit as we mature with age, and it can change in tone and quality. And so maybe it's more about that quality of that color is going through a major shift. So you're anchoring in like a different quality of light in that base aura color that you're holding. And so it can feel a little bit scary. But at the end of the day, it's actually creating like an upgrade, more light, more luminosity. But to get there, it's like you have to cleanse and purify and let go of some heavy things, some outdated things, some old patterning, and that can sort of make you feel like things are shattering. It can feel in the moment a little negative, but what the next card is saying, that first action step based on the underlying need, is saying that something is incubating, and you need to just kind of allow, like surrender into what may feel a little crazy to you. Again, I will reiterate, you can always do grounding work to feel a little bit stable, find some stability, but at the same time, surrender into these things that feel like they're fragmenting. It's actually like a cleansing and an incubation for this new sort of tone in your aura color coming through. And then your intuition and your higher self would say that this is very divinely orchestrated, and as you get through this, you're going to see from a much higher perspective what you know, in time, once you're through with this, you will see from a much higher perspective, like what the purpose of this was, why it happened, where it's going, how to integrate and assimilate things. So it's just kind of saying, like, stick in there. You will see a big picture, and things will come back together in you in a much more kind of purified, uplifting way. And I definitely, for not for all of you, but for some of you, this may mean a move of location as well. This first card, the Diamond Ray, is really plugged into grid work on Earth. And so there may be some requirement for you to move to see sort of a different dimension of yourself or angle of yourself, if that makes sense. Okay, so we are going to get a few animal cards to do just a little bit of confirmation and context around all of this. Balance. So giving, you know, from an outside perspective, you know, eventually you will have sort of hindsight perspective but from an outside perspective from cards, they're saying the reason this is happening is it's trying to bring more balance into your life. Which would also mean, like, our heart is like our general. It really knows how to lead us to a certain beautiful balance for who we are, for our tuning. So there's also this thing to like really tune into your heart at this time. It will guide you. Leaf cutter ant, army of life. Ask for help. Seek support. You are not alone. That's a beautiful message coming through. So like an extra thing beyond doing some grounding work just to kind of feel stable in the crazy, reach out for some support systems, even if it's from like your spirit guides. But if you have family or friends or a group you belong to, a therapist, whatever it is, like this is saying you can create support systems around you, and you should be doing so. Okay. Putting this one, and then we've got Tiger, divine timing. Good things come to those who wait. Yeah, I think at the end of this, it will be well worth whatever is happening right now. The things that feel a little crazy, a little bit like unstable, like there's movement that doesn't make sense, both externally and internally. Yeah, divine timing here. You'll see this from a higher perspective soon. Okay. Okay, we are going to look at sort of like an archetype you might be able to take on right now. I'm sorry, there's some people right outside of my window, some workers, so I'm a little distracted. I'm just going to shuffle cards for a minute to kind of muffle out their noise and voices. Okay, they're going. Just wanted that distraction gone, which again just sort of confirms there's like movement, things are kind of tipping you off balance a little right now, I think, and it's just like go with, just patience. Go with it. There's something really divine in the timing of what is happening, so just trust that. Okay, let's get you your archetype card. The Champion, achievement, downfall. That is very interesting. This is a new deck for me, so I want to read from the guidebook. I've got to find this card first. Okay, I've got the page number. So, okay, steel flashes in the sun, an opponent yields, the crowd roars, victory is a heady brew. The champion raises their arms, drinking in the praise and adoration. But overconfidence is blinding, and behind them, their opponent gets back on their feet. You're riding high in a victory at the moment, and you've earned the right to celebrate, but don't let it go to your head. Not only could arrogance unpick all of your progress, but if you turn your back on a half-finished job, you may see those successes fall apart faster than you can hold them together. Okay, I had to stop filming for a time because the workers were swarming. There were like 5 of them right outside of my window, and they clearly needed some help with something, so I had to go out and deal with that. But the crazy thing that I realized that wasn't even crossing my mind is that they are here doing it's not for our house. There just happens to be a pole in our yard that the power company needed to access because they are updating the power grid. That is very insanely synchronous to me of what this reading is about. So you could feel like your life is a little bit disrupted right now because there's work going on an update in your power grid. Okay, but back to where we were with this card. I had finished, I believe, reading for the Champion. And the takeaway I'm getting is that you are handling this actually with like a lot of fortitude, a lot of kind of a winning attitude here, or you should be channeling sort of this energy of like, I can overcome this, I can succeed. But again, like, don't ever feel like the job is fully done until you feel like those disruptions have not just quieted down, but you feel like they've exited. Sort of like that analogy of, that person thinking that they had beat their opponent, but they turned their back and it wasn't actually so. It's like, don't claim that victory until like the award has been given, until you're off the battlefield, right? Whatever that means to you. But this is saying that like you have the energy in you to kind of take on the champion energy, and it will get you through this really smoothly with a lot of, fortitude and energy and assertion here. And then let's get a message, a feather message for you. about this. We've got Blackbird. The magical and unique qualities of your untapped potential are unfolding now. Yes, your power grid is updating. The tone of your aura is updating, and untapped potential is going to be released in it. So whatever this question has to do with, even if that doesn't directly answer something, this is the root cause of why your question is here. So not necessarily getting into a yes/no. I do want to give some insight into something that might clue you into how valid this question is. So we're first going to ask, we're going to use some astro dice and tarot cards for two questions. The first is, what is the highest potential around whatever it is you brought here? So this may, for some of you, have to do with career. If it doesn't, it's just saying that there's some sense of mastery coming through, something that you can really hold some aspirational and authoritative quality in by kind of following through with whatever this question is. This is happening quite fast too, whatever's going on. A lot's going to happen in a short amount of time, and this power grid auric update will happen quite quickly. Okay, the next question is, we're going to ask, where in a life cycle is this? Which could, of the two questions, get you closer to the yes/no. Okay, so 9th. This is sort of like a hold on for dear life. You are coming to a summit. You are quite a ways, which makes sense to me with the context, all the information that's come out. It's like, think big now. Don't limit yourself. Push your boundaries. You are kind of nearing a summit, and you're finding a real aspirational aim, something to really focus on and push yourself in. Yeah, and it's bringing the Wheel of Fortune doesn't surprise me here. It is bringing kind of a change of tone to your life. It is changing a chapter in your life. So I hope that gives you insight. It feels like actually quite a big question. I don't think I've ever done one of these ask a question, yes, no type things where I've had so much disruption going on. Not to say that, I'm just saying, like, it will be a memorable reading to me for sure. Like, a lot of them just kind of blend together, but I'm like, no, I will remember this reading, like, always. So there you go. I mean, because just to reiterate, it's crazy to me exactly what we were talking about, and then all of a sudden there's people here fixing our power grid, and that's what we were saying for you. Like, just weird. And it's not even people we ordered. This wasn't something we asked for or has to do with our house. They just needed access to our yard. So bizarre. Anyway, that is where I will leave you guys. I hope this resonated. If so, I always appreciate the things like, share, subscribe, and definitely always grateful for kind and thoughtful comments, but in general, just very grateful for all of you that come here and support my channel. Thank you so much. All right, see you guys. Hello, Pile 2. Welcome to your Friday Insight reading with some illumination and clarity around a question you have brought here. So before even getting into some of these cards that are out, I like to feel into energies that are unfolding as I'm preparing and getting ready to jump into your reading or into any pile's reading. And there were some things going on at my house, workers that came unexpectedly, that the city needed to do stuff, and they were going in and out of a gate that's right in front of the window where I do these, so I kind of had to just step back and be like, okay, I'll let them do what they need to do, and then I'll jump in because it's too distracting. And there was this thing of like, like I kept thinking they must almost be done. They must almost be done. So it was sort of like I couldn't focus on something else or like put my energy or time into something else because I kept thinking like any minute. But it kind of was like, went on a lot longer than I thought it would. And so that said, I feel like whatever question is being brought here, it's sort of like there's been some patience here. It's something I think there's been focus on, but also a need to have patience. And I think that you're finally coming to that threshold moment of change coming in. So the 3 cards I have out here, the first one is sort of like an underlying need. And then we have some kind of step you can take based on that, and then a message from your higher self. So the first card with the underlying need is sort of like there's something about needing to really tune into your heart and sort of do a cleansing with it. I think there's some things that have been weighing there where it's like some healing is needing to take place. But overall, the whole nature of these cards makes me feel like many of you, probably not all of you, but many of you coming here, this may be a love-related question. But I'll try and read it more generally because I'm sure not everybody has that. But there is something heart-related minimally, and something about needing sort of like better boundaries with your own heart so you can be more true to your own heart. And not just true to your heart, but brave enough to be true to your own heart, because sometimes that can be scary. And so there's like, maybe there's been a tension there and like an underlying thing, whether that directly relates to your question or not. An underlying thing going on here is that there's probably something about your question where you've been trying to be really true to your heart here, or figuring out how to do that. And there's something about boundaries coming through about that in an underlying need. And then in sort of like an action step you can take based on this is saying it's time to let go of something. It doesn't necessarily have to be like letting go of your question. There may be something in your life you're needing to let go of so your question can find traction or footing or have peace. Or there could be something about your question that you need to let go of. It's a collective reading, so it's going to be a little different for each of you. Generally, whatever resonates for you for a sense of freedom being felt and a sense of change coming in. That's sort of what is happening here. And this action step is saying, like, once you find those boundaries and that courage and even the resonance with your heart of knowing what it wants, what it needs, the step you are being asked to take at that point is change, is unbinding from something to allow yourself to be yourself more, or for some aspect of your life to be what you actually want it to be, not what you've thought it should be. And definitely something going on with the feminine quality of life here, being more in touch with intuition, with depth, with what your soul is calling you to. There's something about allowing the more intuitive aspect of you to be more free, to be even like a little more wild, really. And then the message coming through from your higher self is, it very much so plugs back into everything we've seen here. There's something about self-worth that your higher self is saying is involved here, where you're needing to show yourself more, to feel safe to be vulnerable and to feel a lot of worth and beauty for yourself and for your life. And it may mean, again, listening to your heart and taking some steps that has you unbinding from certain things that have created tension around that. Okay, so we are going to do a few animal cards as confirmation on each of these to just see a little bit more context and advice. Protection under the underlying need. Consider who you allow to take your energy and what you give it away to freely. So yeah, I mean, again, there's something with boundaries going on, an underlying need of boundaries that you should source from your heart. What are the boundaries your heart needs around this question? Where is your energy being taken advantage of, I want to say? Where are you unable to be you, even? Kind of going back to what the higher self was saying. And how can you find more protection through boundaries in order to be more you, or to use your energy more in tune with your own heart? Okay, the Empress tree, we have Otter, initiations, be open through this transitional time. Yeah, I mean, the action step that was coming through, which is still like, don't do it until you feel really clear about what these boundaries and protection are that you need. But once you feel that and you kind of unbind from something, it's sort of like you need to be the one to, you can't just wait. Like, it's not going to happen on its own. Like, when you feel it in you, you need to take the initiative to do that. And tuning into the otter in general, it is a creature all about sisterhood. And so I think that there's women that you can call in to be supportive through whatever this is to you. Okay, let's get something about your higher self's message. The Phoenix, empower. Fire activations bring creative and spiritual freedom. So tapping into the freedom here and the clarity here. I think you just need, like what your higher self is wanting for you is to feel more empowered through being more free to be who you are, being more free to unleash your softer, your deeper, your more feminine side, your wildness, your intuition, that deep sort of feral feminine energy. Is your higher self wants that to be something that's safe for you, that's valued by and about you, and that empowers you. Okay, we are going to do a card that is going to show what kind of archetype you might be able to step into to help you with this question. And we have the Botanist, which is all about the feminine energy. Again, this is about knowing how to tend to life, how to nourish and nurture life, how to bring things alive. Sort of thinking about yourself a little bit as like a mother energy. How can you mother yourself? How can you mother something about this question? How can you nurture and nourish things around a certain freedom and release that's needed here? How can you tend to your heart? Think about, just tapping into the image of this and the Botanist, like how, imagine your question is a rose. How can you feed that rose, prune the bush it comes from, water it, like what is it you can do to treat this question as if it was a rose bush you were growing, that you're trying to bring into a thriving state. Okay, and then we're going to get a message from the Feather Messenger deck. We've got Robin. New growth and potential is on the horizon. Reach out and embrace it, which is so beautiful to see. It's like, I do think, going back to the very start of this reading, this has been a long time coming. I think there's been a lot of focus and energy put here, a lot of waiting, a lot of patience. And you may have already taken on this archetype, a lot of tending to something, investing in something about your feminine side and about feeling protected and free to and safe to be in that kind of energy, and it's now starting to grow. You're on the threshold of that, so just like a little more patience. You're really close to this. Keep giving the nourishment. You feel this question would need to have fertile soils and conditions, because this is saying just like right on the horizon, right under the surface, there is growth and potential about to come out. And when it does, it's like reach out and grab it, you know, don't hold back. Okay, so we are going to do one more little exercise here to tap into, even though I've gotten away from the yes, no, maybe, I don't want to fully get rid of that, because I do think there can be helpful things in that, of like even saying like how potent or valid a question might be. So there's two questions we're going to ask. We're going to use some astro dice and a tarot deck. And the first question we're going to ask is like, what is the highest potential around this question? And it has a lot to do with liberation, originality, being free to be you, feeling liberated, feeling like you've broken out of a box. And you could give 2 F's about what anyone or anything else thinks. You're doing you for you. You are unleashing your originality, and through that finding new hope for your future. Yeah, this is, it's not easy to get to that point. It means we really have to shake life up, or if we won't do it ourselves, life can shake up on us. And that may be the case for you with the Tower. Sometimes the Tower can mean things, shakeups coming that we didn't necessarily invite, but that ultimately liberate us. And so that's kind of what I see coming here, but for your highest good. You are being liberated for your highest good. It might be a little uncomfortable, but like the highest potential here is having the ground underneath you shake up so that you can be liberated. Okay, the next question may be a little closer to that, even though it's not a yes, no, a little closer to like giving you an idea of how potent or valid your question is for you. And we're asking, where in this life cycle is where in a life cycle is your question? Is it just beginning? Is it coming into maturity? Is it coming into power? Or is there something ending about this? Kind of phasing out. So coming into power here, which can be uncomfortable, like we've already tapped into. I think there is sort of a death and resurrection right around the corner for you. I think you're probably in some investigation right now, some depth work around this question. And you're getting really close to understanding where your empowerment with the Phoenix lies with this. And so how to connect to it and how to understand your power within this question. And then we have the 4 of Courage, celebration coming through. And in this deck, this almost looks like, you know, those poppers that pop out confetti. It kind of feels like that, like the tower that cracks open and like explodes on us. I think to you is actually going to feel celebratory. Even if it comes out of nowhere, that liberation of something falling apart will actually be like, you know what, thank goodness. that was needed. I couldn't do it for myself, but I feel joyous about this, something sort of falling apart, because it's released my energy to be more free and to feel more alive and joyful and celebratory, and to connect out into the world in new and big and passionate ways. Yeah, so in terms of like how valid or potent your question is, it's very much so valid and potent. So, you know, not that everyone needs to hear that, but sometimes it's nice to hear, you know, if our questions are even, you know, we can doubt our questions even being a question we should ask, you know, and this is like, no, it is, you're in it. So very much so a question to be brought. Okay, that is where I'm going to leave you guys. If this resonated, I always appreciate the likes and shares and subscribes, and definitely always very grateful for kind and thoughtful comments. But overall, I am just very, very grateful for those of you that show up and return and support my channel in general, whether or not you leave the things. It's just, yeah, I just appreciate you being here. Okay, I will see you in future readings, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Hello, Pile 3. Welcome to your Friday Insight, where we are going to mine some of the cards and intuitive things that come through for some clarity and illumination for a question you have brought here. And I have to say, just in sort of getting your pile prepared, the vibe going on was very light to the touch, is the best way I can explain it. And then the cards that came out, sort of, at least the first two, really felt that way as well. So let's dive into the actual cards in this spread to mine into what this is all about. So this first card is all about some sort of underlying need going on around your question. And it's Sanctuary of Light and Mugwort with the keyword of portal. And so you may feel like at this moment you are kind of a little bit untethered from the ground. And at times that is good to happen, as long as you know how to anchor back in when that time is right. We can't get lost up into the ethers, you know, but right now there's like a portal opening for you. And so it's time to kind of lift off a little. If you ever feel a little insecure around this question or too lightheaded or lightweight, you can always do some grounding practices to help you have the courage to then feel that lightness again. Because it's, yeah, there's like a transport going on, and there's a lot of elementals around you and magical things around you, even though you probably can't see them or sense at any one specific moment where something might be or how it's functioning in your life. There's this general feeling of like the fae, the fairy, dragons, unicorns, elves, whatever, you know, whatever, plants speaking. There's just like this very light, tingly, energetic, elemental quality around you, and it's sort of telling you that yeah, you're kind of transporting, you're stepping through a portal right now. So let's get on to these other cards to get a little bit more information about what that portal is, what's it about, what's going on here. So this second card is showing something about an action step you would take based on the first card we had, the underlying need. And you have lilac, spirit, quartz, and community. And this is all about finding unity in community. So this may be saying there's something you're needing to bring more unity to in your life. Through calling friends in, through calling family in, through building bridges where there have been tensions, whatever resonates to you. There's something about bringing more unity into your life that would either bring good energy to your question or directly relate to your question. there's also this thing about I don't know why, because it's not necessarily in any of the keywords of the cards, but I'm feeling this thread of time here, and like finding some kind of unified theme about like a thread of time around this question. Like, what's the timeline of this question, and how can you see that more cohesively and more coherently, create a thread of things that have contributed to how this question even came to be? There's something about doing that for some of you, not everyone, that will bring a lot of clarity and more unity to this question in general. And then we also have a message. The last card is something from your higher self, and we have Selenite and Willow Tree with Goddess Spiral, which is deeply about rites of passages. And this card has a lot to do with the triple goddess aspect within the feminine, the maiden, mother, crone aspect, and how, you know, they're, again, thinking about that thread of time. If you think about your own lifetime, we ebb and flow through mother, maiden, crone. We have phases of life where we're in one and progress to the other. We have lineage that has lived through all those variations. And just even within us, it's like we have, going back to that community, we have a community of feminine archetypes within us, of being able to really access mother, maiden, or maiden, mother, crone. There's something about that, about being really in tune with the dynamic of the feminine, and it doesn't matter what gender you are, we all have feminine in us, we all have access to mother, maiden, crone. But specifically right now, I mean, I think it's important to just like tune into that in general, but there's something specific right now where you are going through a rite of passage, and this is what the portal is about. You're going through a rite of passage of moving from one of those into another. So you may be maiden going to mother, mother going to crone, or crone rebirthing into maiden. So I'll go over each of them, just like really a couple keywords for each that you might sense of like, yeah, I've been in that, so the portal's taking me to the next one for like a bigger life cycle of being in that kind of feminine archetype. So the maiden is, even though she has a lot of expression and beauty and flirtation and sort of innocence, she can also be attracted to the dark masculine, the rock and roll side of life, and invite some trouble as well. She can be a little reactive. The mother has sort of like an inner glow. She knows how to birth things. She knows how to move life through her rather than feeling like life happens to her, where the maiden might feel. The mother can move life through her. She can give birth to creation. She has an inner glow that's a little bit more grounded, but nonetheless very attractive and potent. And then the crone knows how to really drop into dream work and prophecy and deep meaning in life, and is kind of the counsel woman people would go to for advice, a seer. So whichever one of those resonates for sort of like something you feel like you've been in and that is like maybe disappearing a little, is because you are, it's like that lightness you're feeling, it's like you're detaching from that. You're going through a portal right now into a rite of passage, into whichever variation would iteration of the triple goddess would come next in that lineage. Yeah, so really interesting. I don't know, it'd be fascinating to hear how that might connect to questions brought here, but even if that doesn't directly connect to your question, it's sort of talking about something going on with you that may be the reason why this question is even, around. But we are going to get a few confirmation cards for each to just add to this. So Penguin, Diamond Light Activation. Light activations and new energies are coming your way. Be open to receive and welcome them in. I mean, that's just, something new is activating. It's portal energy. It's, it's saying, it's just confirming, like, be open and receptive. If you feel fear, if you feel unhinged, do a little grounding, but for the purpose of feeling safe to kind of let go again. Oh, that one wanted to come out. And then we've got Cat, speak your truth. Have strength, faith, and conviction in your voice. It has never been more needed. So something about your voice and creating some kind of greater sense of unity around something in your question is being called for, whether that's bringing literal community to it or helping to build some bridges or bring unity to things that need more harmonious energy around this question, whatever resonates to you. Then from your higher self, we have well, tenderness, show compassion and forgive what needs to be forgiven. So in this rite of passage of moving from one version of the triple goddess to the next, each of those iterations come with, everything has a double-edged sword. So there may be things you appreciated about the phase you're leaving, but things that wounded you or that you have some shame or guilt around. And it's like, you need to kind of look back at it as like a broader archetype that you've gone through, a broader sense of time and lessons you've gone through, and being like, oh yeah, that phase and those things I'm, holding on to that need some forgiveness, we're all about developing that archetype. And now I can just let go of it. I've graduated, it's fine. I get how they helped me to develop this iteration of this feminine archetype. I get the lesson, hence I can forgive now more easily. And just being softer about that, having some tenderness for whatever that phase was you went through, and being able, which allows you to deeply let go of it. And just in general about some forgiveness, whether it's towards yourself or others or both, whatever. Doing that will help this question progress, if that makes sense. Okay, we are going to look at an archetype that you could step into that would help with your question, that would help with your time of going through the portal and finding unity and finding some tenderness for a rite of passage. How beautiful, the wise one, tradition and order. I might read from the book for this. It's a new deck to me, so I'm still familiarizing myself. Some of them are obvious, and some I'm curious what the book says, and I haven't even seen that one yet, which is interesting. I thought I'd kind of seen them all. Okay, wise one, 52. This is from, by the way, the Citadel. Okay, a fire burns in the hearth, a russet fox slumbering before its warmth. Peace hangs over the room like a blanket, and by the window the wise one consults a book and crushes a handful of leaves into a bowl. Though others may be wilder and more experimental, the wise one acts on the knowledge learned from their predecessors. They know the way things have always been done. Organization and rhythms rule the day. It's time to suppress that creative streak and accept pre-established convention. Take the time to study those who have gone before you. There is plenty to be learned from the previous attempts. The greatest knowledge is derived from the experiences of those who have done this before. So this gives me the vibe. Still go with your intuition, whatever resonates to you, but I get the feeling that a lot of you are either moving from maiden to mother or mother to crone. I'm not getting the vibe of crone returning and rebirthing as maiden here. If that really resonates with you, stick with it, but I would say the majority of you, this is all about really being able to drop into a respect for how to work with society, how to impact society, play your role in society, understand tradition. And I love this coming actually under this community and unity card. Like, how do you plug into your community? What's something about your question where you can impact community through what you've asked? There's something that through knowing how your lineage, how a lineage, how an archetype of a mother or crone does certain things and holds certain universal truths and universal patterns, will help you to really step into that rite of passage with some footing, you know, not like all of a sudden landing there and being like, whoa, what's happened? Life is totally different now. Like, what do I do here? And freaking out. It's more like by channeling that wise one, you can like land on your feet and as you come out of the portal and move through that rite of passage. Looking to how others have done it before. What are the universal patterns? You can always bring your iteration, your originality, but like, what are the universal patterns of the archetype you are stepping into, and how does that archetype bring community and unity together? Okay, let's get a feather messenger oracle, just a message from spirit for you guys. Magpie. Reevaluate your priorities. It's time to let go of what you no longer need. Yeah, it's time to let go of, you know, I think you already feel it. And I was getting the sense that, you know, quite a few of you are feeling a little unbalanced right now. But hopefully this reading is helping you to see why that is, and so how to trust and surrender and let go, so that you can kind of like let go of that old mode. It's no longer needed. You're stepping up. You are, you know, you've aged either experientially or literally age-wise into a new archetype of a feminine quality. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so this last little exercise I'm going to do is a little more for fun, and I want you to take it with a lighter heart than the rest of the things we've done. So even though I got rid of the yes, no, maybe, really black and white answers to questions, I didn't want to like completely break from that. So we're going to ask through Astro Dice and Tarot cards 2 questions to help. They won't give you a yes, no, maybe, but they will maybe point towards things about your question in terms of like how important the question is, how valid it is for you right now, that kind of stuff. So the first question is going to be like, what's the highest potential around this question? And we have 9. So this is about expansion. The highest potential here is about expansion. It's about pushing your boundaries and broadening your perspectives and wisdom in life. Again, which makes me feel like, you know, a lot of you moving from either maiden to mother or mother to crone, but I'm even going to say now a lot of you moving into crone potentially. And then we've got the 6 of Gratitude, which connects to that community. There is support around you for this. There are, and it might be like lineages. You may look back on ancestors or current living mothers and grandmothers and daughters or whatever, but there's sort of like exchange, like people that can show you. I would actually look more towards the mothers or grandmothers that are either living or past, or people in your life that can kind of fill those roles or know stuff about them. There's an exchange of energy of like people willing, if you were to look and ask, willing to show you the beauty and the benefits and the magic of what you are going to be stepping into, what you are working to step into. Okay, the next question is, where in a life cycle is this question? Which can kind of give us that sense of like, like how does that align with where you're coming from? Might tell you how potent this question is for you. So let's see, where in a life cycle is this question? 11. So you're really, like, this to me is like, stick with this question. You are in a mode of liberation at the moment, which can bring both discomfort and bitterness, as well as new hope and excitement. And it's just a sign that you are really, really, really close to the cusp of like making it through whatever this question is about. The Fool, take the leap. Yeah, any new impulses you're feeling, anything you feel inspired to jump toward, but kind of feel like a leap of faith, it's saying like, do it, it's time to jump toward things about your question, things you've heard here in general. So hopefully, I know the way this reading has been going is, it'll be interesting to hear in the comments how this might plug into questions being asked, but at least like it's talking about some underlying things going on in your life that would spur or that are the source of why this question is here that you brought. So thinking about that way, hopefully that gives you some insight into your specific question. So I hope this resonated. If so, I always appreciate the likes and shares and subscribes, and definitely always very, very grateful for kind and thoughtful comments. Even just like a little emoji is fun to feel that human touch. But no matter what, I'm just grateful when people come and support my channel, whether or not you leave anything. Just nice to have you here. Nice to have that support. So thank you for being here, and I hope you have a beautiful day. All right, see you later. Hello, beautiful Pile 4. Welcome to your Friday Insight reading with some clarity and illumination around a question you have brought here. So just the general vibe I'm getting before we dive into specific cards is I just feel like a huge release coming out of you guys. I don't know exactly how to articulate it. It feels like it's more sensational, like being sucked, almost like compressed into the ground, which then almost springboards off just as powerfully as it was grounded, I guess you could say. I don't know, however that makes sense to you. It's just like a sensation that was coming through. But let's jump into the cards before I go off on some weird tangents. So first card is all about an underlying need around your question. And Ethiopian opal with fertile ground, to me, it feels like there's this thing with different colors of auras that I've heard that a lot of people who have like star quality have more rainbow base aura, which is kind of a rare aura to have. And I don't know if it's your base aura or not, because that's sort of like an essence we're born with that stays with us, and throughout our lives, based on what's going on, other colors kind of come in and out. But I'm feeling like, there's something about either you have that rainbow base aura, but it's been sort of dimmed and it's like turning on suddenly. Something sort of is like some help from above. Something's been cleared for you, or has helped you to clear something, and it's allowing that rainbow aura to come more alive, to shine brighter, you know, like to turn up the vibrancy and clarity of it. Or for many of you, it might just be that like a rainbow aura is coming into your auric field to kind of liven something up in you, to make you feel lighter, more joyful, more expansive, more magical in general. Like a sense of magic at your fingertips is what's being felt. So there's something about an underlying need where it's like your rainbow vibrancy is at the root of whatever your question is about. Something's turning on with it. Moving on to the next card, this is all about like a next step you would take based off of the underlying need. And we have septarian nodules, which says way shower, shake up the system, cellular upgrades. And if I remember, I'm like 97% sure it's about this card from the book. There is something about deva spirits, which are, like an oak tree. A specific oak tree might have a spirit, but the spirit of all oak trees is connected, and that's the deva oak tree spirit. And there's something about like a really, really, really powerful deva spirit, whatever might be in your region, a mountain landscape, the Great Plains, a river, the ocean. Some deva spirit is really taking you into the depth of earth energy, to really, really grow into the depths, to ground things in new ways. Oh, that's what I was feeling, to ground things in much, much more deeper, powerful, stable ways in order to hold that magic that wants to elevate in your life. You kind of have to have the equal grounding as you have higher energy in order to stably hold a higher energy. You could have a lot of higher energy and have poor roots and you're unstable. And so this is like a balance thing coming in. This is saying an action step you need to take is a lot of grounding, and call on a deva spirit, a spirit of a certain tree, a spirit of a mountain range, or of mountains in general, actually, of the ocean in general, of any Great Plains in general, of valleys, of, whatever connects to you. What does your spirit call to in terms of like landscapes or types of a tree, or, it could be the deva of roses, something in nature. It's deva spirit. What would you feel the need to call into you to help you ground and stabilize, to hold this higher vibration and rainbow color field coming into your aura? And how does that plug into your question in some way? So there is this need to ground because you are kind of receiving this clearing of high vibrational energy coming in. Okay, and then next we have a message from your subconscious, and we've got amethyst and passion flower, violet flame, breaking addictions, transmuting nervous system. Oh, I love the nervous system part specifically. That grounding. When we live in higher vibrational states, it can really tax our nervous systems if we haven't grounded them, if we don't know how to understand and feel our stress processes, what sets a stress process off, how we decompress, how we recover. If we understand our stress processes, we can understand how to ground them, stabilize them, get them a little more under control. And there's something for you about calling that really massive Deva spirit to help you ground in that really, really deep, massive way that will do a lot for your nervous system. It will help you to have a little bit more command over it and understanding of it and knowledge of how to tend to the stress process, and really especially knowing how to recover. Something about that is, your higher self is saying that, something about your question and something about what's been going on in these other cards has to do with like really redoing your nervous system, really upgrading how you connect to it, understand it, and take care of it. That's definitely something I'm feeling through there. Okay, let's get an animal oracle card for each of these as a confirmation, just a little extra context. Got chameleon, soul tribe. It is safe to be seen. I love that with the rainbow aura. I did say like a lot of celebrities have it, and it's something about like, maybe like you haven't, with that chameleon energy, maybe you haven't felt safe to be seen in certain ways, and it like something's happening where those colors are coming alive, and it's like it might be because there's something you're starting to feel more safe in allowing your colors to be seen. Hence, they are brightening, they're gaining more vibrancy and more clarity and more energy around them. And tapping into soul tribe, it's just general advice for pretty much anything. Anyone that feels like soul tribe can make us feel safer in doing things like that, so call those types of people in. Then we've got antelope, new pathways, and this says way shower. Consider whether you are happy on your current path. And I love looking at the antelope. It's almost like the unicorn Pegasus energy, where there's like, I always think of a unicorn horn or antlers as these receptor stations for spirit to enter into our body. And I think that whatever your question is, on top of every, all the guidance that's and messages coming through, is sort of like, there's been a lot of help from spirit in this. There's been a lot of downloads in this. And so whatever is coming through you right now, I think in order to feel safe, to, forge new pathways that make you happier, you first need to take this step of finding certain grounding. What are those foundations that make you feel really stable in life? And call again on that, like we said when we covered this initial card, the Deva spirit of something to help you with that. Okay, and from your higher self, feeling this one, beautiful peacock, self-love, time to celebrate you and all your magnificent light. You guys, you can't make that up. All your magnificent light, it's turning on, it's revving up, it's vibrating and coming into vibrancy, and it's just time to show it, and that's what your higher self is saying. It's like time to love yourself because you've got these amazing colors in you. Speaking of kind of like your auric energy, it's beautiful, and you've dimmed it, and it's there's been something about self-love here, but it's like there's been intervention by spirit where it's just like, no, enough with this, and it's downloaded you with something that's really cleared some blocks for you, but you have to take some steps to now ground to hold that. So, but it has at the root of things a lot to do with self-love and being able to show yourself and celebrate yourself here. So however that plugs into the question you brought. So we are going to pull an archetype card as well to show what kind of archetype you might be able to step into that would be helpful to either the things we've talked about here or more directly help you in your question. The Waker, awareness and reflection. This is all about paying attention, being aware of what's going on. This archetype of a waker is like an awakener. Be okay being a force. Be okay mirroring things out to the world that might shake them a little, but ultimately awaken them. And I think, when people have really bold, big, bright colors in them, it can shake others up a little bit. But it's sort of like maybe that's an archetype you need to step into to really take up the space and be bold and be okay being a little controversial even, because your colors are just as worthy as anyone else's colors, and they deserve to be seen and deserve to be felt as beautiful by you, and deserve to make some waves. Like, who cares? Yeah, there's something about the Waker. Reflect things. Use those vibrant colors that are coming alive in you to reflect things to the world that might liberate them. I've had this happen to me several times where maybe I've reflected something out to friends or groups that maybe they weren't quite ready to see, and it made them really uncomfortable. But then, I'm thinking of one specific, there's many, but I'm thinking of one specific scenario because it wasn't too long ago. There had been a time period of maybe a year that passed, but then there were suddenly some world events that happened that kind of awakened, more collective consciousness around the things I was sort of reflecting. And they, this group of people confessed to me that they're like, you made me so uncomfortable. And I kind of came away from this thing feeling so weird. And, but ultimately it was the seed that was planted that helped us to see this movement in the world so much more quickly and clearly and passionately. So thank you for making me uncomfortable. Even though it was probably hard for you in the moment, a year down the road, that seed planted something that I'm very grateful for. And so you may have to hold some of that sometimes where initially people might be like, what? You're too much, and then, a week, a month, a year later, they're like, oh, you really planted a seed in me. Thank you for doing that. Okay, so I don't know, maybe your question has something to do with that kind of thing too, but it's just Spirit saying be okay doing that. Yeah. Don't question yourself. There's something very awake in you, and you need to reflect, that out into the world. Okay, a message from Spirit, from the Divine Father message. We've got Parrot. Let go of others' thoughts and opinions. Oh, you guys, it's time to embrace who you really are. Yeah, ultimately what what I was just saying, let go of what other people might think. They might be shaken by the parrot is very colorful and bold, and it might shake people up, feel too much at the moment, but Spirit saying, don't give an F about what their thoughts and opinions are. You're planting seeds in them, and you're helping awaken things on this planet that create ripple effects, because maybe two people you plant a seed in and it takes them 3 months to finally get that thing, but then each of those goes out and plants that seed in 3 other people, it spreads exponentially. So it's just embrace it a little. And it's not always like that. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes when we have something, sometimes awakenings happen immediately and it's exciting and you're with people and it's a charge, and in the moment it's kind of like, oh wow, electrical. So yeah, however that relates to your question. And I know it's a little abstract, but there we go. Okay, so even though I have let go of the really concrete yes and no to my Friday questions, I wanted to honor that the yes and no does help to serve whether like questions might be valid in a moment or how potent they might be for us. So I did want to bring in an element. It's not going to give you exactly a yes or no, but it might give you a sense of where this question lies for you, if that makes sense. We'll get into it and then you'll see. So we're going to ask 2 questions using astrology dice and a tarot card. The first one's going to be, what's the highest potential of this question for you? This has to do with depths. This is about foundations. The highest potential of this is about having a really, really secure foundation, feeling stable, feeling nourished, feeling capable of holding those higher vibrations that awaken our energy, because the root here, the highest potential of this question is that you have really, really deep, powerful foundations, unwavering, completely solid foundations that give you the bravery to leap, that give you the bravery to reflect big, high vibe things into the world. And then a tarot card, we have 7 of Courage. And it will give you, following through with this question or what this question pertains to. It's either saying, stick to your guns here, defend your position, or it's saying like the highest potential here is that you will feel confident to defend your positions, to hold your ground. You won't waver in that. It will feel second nature to you and easy to you by kind of following through with things with this question. Okay, the next question we're going to ask is, where in a life cycle is this question? Is this something that's just beginning and has a long ways to go for you? Are you kind of in a midpoint where there's some maturity and productivity here? Are you coming into some power with this? Or is this something that's kind of ending for you, where it's just kind of assimilating in you and becoming second nature and just, or something that's even passing out of your life, which I kind of doubt with this reading, but we'll see. 10. Yeah, this is in a life cycle. You're coming to the summit with this. This has the potential to, you may be able to hold this energy in your position in the world, in your career, or this is something, whatever question you've brought here, where you can develop a lot of mastery and authority and integrity in, and again, going back to like really being able to have that confidence to stand your ground, because you have integrity. You've been under pressure with this, so you've developed the character needed to hold all of this. 3 of Freedom. Yeah, you've been through some heartache too in doing so. I think this has not been an easy road for you to embrace your colors and to deepen into, hold some of the higher vibrational things you're able to attract into you, and especially that's happening right now. But the battle wounds you have acquired and the things you've been through around your question have given you a lot of wisdom, a lot of elegance, and a lot of knowing how to move forward with more alignment to your soul and wisdom through experience. So moving forward in a much more successful way than you have done so in the past is what that's saying. But it's very much so a very valid question. Something is very much so summiting here. I think you've put in a lot of work here, and I do not doubt that everything I've said you know exactly how to do and how to focus on and how to find achievement and success in. Okay, this is where I'm going to leave you guys. I hope it resonated. If so, I always love the likes and shares and subscribes, all the things. And definitely always really grateful for kind and thoughtful comments. Just nice to feel that human touch out there. Even just a little emoji is fun. But regardless, whether any of those are done or not, I am just very grateful for all of you that come and support my channel. So thank you. All right. I hope you have a beautiful day, and we'll see you in future readings.